A very good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of the English News on Rwanda Television. Thank you for being with us. Let's take a look at the top stories. Rwanda is set to generate $660 million of revenue from the tourism sector in 2024. Representatives of civil society organizations are calling for a revision of the land use regulation law. On the international scale, US President Joe Biden on Tuesday hosted Israel's president, and these parallel talks have focused on the conflicts in Gaza and Lebanon. My name is Olive Netendi. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. Now let's take a closer look at the news. President Paul Kagami emphasized that Africa has a mission to continue playing an active role in combating climate change despite limited investment in environmental protection projects. Adam Squizera kicks us off tonight.
The head of state reiterated this in Baku, Azerbaijan, at the 29th Conference of the Parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, COP29, where he attended a meeting on measuring the green wealth of Africa, co-hosted by President Denis Sassou Nguesso of the Republic of Congo and African Development Bank AFDB President Dr. Akinwumi Adesina. President Paul Kagame noted that the African continent has one mission to reaffirm its position as a key player in the fight against climate change, despite insufficient access to climate finance, which remains Africa's biggest obstacle. President Kagame also pointed out that the African continent is the least responsible for global emissions, which therefore climate crises have to be fairly compensated for that extensive contributions to climate solutions. On the sidelines of this 29th Conference of the Parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, COP29, President Paul Kagame met with his counterpart, President Ilham Aliyev of Azerbaijan, and congratulated him on the successful hosting of COP29. The heads of state discussed concrete ways to strengthen bilateral cooperation in key areas including promotion of investment and trade as well. Adam Squizera, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Adams, for the detailed report. Now to economic matters. Rwanda is set to generate $660 million of revenue from the tourism sector in 2024. This is one of the findings demonstrated in the country economic memorandum report presented on Wednesday. Prince Manzi with more.
The report demonstrates that Rwanda's economy continued to increase gradually after the COVID-19 outbreak, which affected highly the country. Victoria Kwakwa, the World Bank Regional Vice President for Eastern and Southern Africa, ensured the World Bank's support in advancing Rwanda's economy.
We remain committed to support Rwanda on this exciting journey towards sustainable, inclusive, and a resilient economy.
Prime Minister Dr. Edward Ngirente states that the report will play an important role in guiding the implementation of the country's future strategies.
The report will play an important role in guiding the implementation of our future strategies. In fact, as it was developed concurrently with the National Strategy for Transformation 2, the report's primary findings have already informed it.
The World Bank projects that Rwanda is set to generate $660 million of revenue from the tourism sector in 2024. The revenue is projected to be categorized into $200 million from guerrilla tourism, $110 million from leisure, $90 million from conferences, $86 million from family and relative visits, and $46 million from other visits. The report also projects that business-based tourism will generate $46 million.
Thank you, Prince, for the details. Now moving ahead with other matters. On Wednesday, Prime Minister Dr. Edward Ngirente held separate meetings with two key international partners. He first received Dr. Zaru Kibwe, the new World Bank Group Executive Director for the Africa Group, where discussions centered on strengthening the ongoing partnership between Rwanda and the World Bank. Later, he met with Etleva Kadili, UNICEF's regional Director for Eastern and Southern Africa, to explore ways to enhance the strong cooperation between Rwanda and UNICEF. Enora Gladys with more.
Upon being received by Prime Minister Dr. Edward Ngirente, Dr. Zarau Kibwe, the World Bank Group Executive Director overseeing 22 countries including Rwanda, praised Rwanda as a model in effectively utilizing international funds. Dr. Kibwe highlighted the World Bank's plans to increase its focus on the agricultural sector to further support the country's development initiatives.
I'm very impressed with the project that we are funding in Rwanda, because Rwanda is one of the star countries in terms of not only implementation of the project, but also results. Yeah, Rwanda is doing very well. It's actually a model for other countries in the region. Of course, we have a couple of projects that are in pipeline, because one of the things that we want to support Rwanda more, it's actually in agriculture. How can we invest more in agriculture? Because that's the main job creator, especially for the young people in rural community.
The Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Yusuf Murangwa, stated that they are jointly exploring projects aimed at creating job opportunities.
The main focus is to have good growth that also leads to good jobs, good and many jobs that will allow many people to be included in the economy and also prosper. From the analysis, it's very clear that the past growth has been very good, and development results have also been very good. But the future is very ambitious. We want to be a middle-income country by 2035, and that calls for, mathematically, it calls for growth that is above 10%. And that's very ambitious. So for us to be able to achieve that, we need to work even more smarter and harder going forward.
Following this, Etleva Kadili, UNICEF Regional Director for Eastern and South African, was also received by Prime Minister Dr. Edward Ngirente. She expressed UNICEF's pride in Rwanda's commitment to children's rights and affirmed that UNICEF will continue to support the country in its efforts to promote child welfare.
So we continue to stay attached in supporting the agenda and, as I said, an ambition which is really connected straight to the National Strategy Transformational Plan number 2 of the government of Rwanda, and UNICEF will do its part to really support the capabilities that are already here in country, but really taking it to the next level. We're very excited about the future.
As the UNICEF Regional Director for Eastern and Southern Africa, Etleva Kadili oversees UNICEF's operations across 19 countries in the region, including Rwanda.
Thank you, Enora. Now to more news. Representatives of civil society organizations are calling for a revision of the land use regulation laws, citing various issues that have arisen during its implementation. We have details. During discussions between members of the Committee on Land, Agriculture, Livestock and Environment in the Rwandan Parliament and representatives of civil society organizations, concerns were raised about the implementation of the land regulation law, with a particular focus on the rights of land users. This law does not outline the process of property transfer, particularly regarding compensation for residents whose properties are affected by public projects, specifically lines on and how to remove individuals from the list of taxpayers receiving notifications from Irembo about tax payments. Sylvain Muyombano, acting head of the Land Administration Department and Registrar of Land Titles at the National Land Authority, points out that some of these issues are being addressed. Various efforts are underway, such as integrating Rwanda revenue with the land authority system. We are working on this so that any changes made in one system will be immediately reflected in the other. Once this integration is completed, we will continue with other initiatives, and we believe that by the next fiscal year, many improvements will have been made. The land regulation law was revised to address issues not covered. These included the lack of provisions for dividing land smaller than 1 hectare so that each shareholder received their fair share, as well as ensuring that women are granted full rights to manage and utilize land in which they participate. Now to educational matters. Educational experts emphasize that strengthening teacher capacity is crucial for enhancing and ensuring quality foundational learning. This point was highlighted during the Africa Flex 2024 conference, which concluded on Wednesday. Enora Gladys once more.
Jointly organized by the World Bank, ADA, UNICEF and the Hempel Foundation, Flex 2024 highlights the importance of foundational learning as a crucial factor in breaking the cycle of poverty. Education stakeholders attending the conference expressed their hopes that challenges faced by teachers in nursery and primary schools will be effectively addressed.
I'm expecting that there will be an improvement, especially in those training materials in teaching materials that we have been talking. Because in some discussions, they said that you can't expect a teacher to teach in a good way if you can't provide them with sufficient materials that they need. So I think that I can't say that this was not considered, but they know there is a lot of need. There is a need, emergent need of having such teaching and learning materials, both in lower primary and also in pre-primary.
Education specialists from various African countries highlighted the significant role of youth in advancing the education sector and discussed measures being implemented to address current challenges.
From the youth perspective, I think what youth really bring to the table is one, the enthusiasm, the energy, the skills, the relatability with actual communities that they live in day to day. And they're not so far removed from the early childhood stage. So we really understand some of the challenges that are met by our teachers and challenges that are met by children and parents themselves.
Because of this, we have developed strong collaboration with our sister ministry, and there are a lot of consultations. In fact, we have developed the Memorandum of Understanding so that we clearly define roles and responsibilities on EC expansion to achieve this SDG. We have also developed a roadmap to the expansion of ECE.
Gilbert Mnyamana, Deputy Director General of Rwanda National Child Development Agency, highlighted the agency's commitment to early learning. He discussed how foundational education shapes lifelong skills. Mnyamana's insights underscore the agency's dedication to ensuring equitable, quality education for all children in Rwanda.
When we say we have children who cannot read and write, this is across, especially in developing countries. It's a challenge not only for Rwanda, it's a challenge across Africa and other low-income generating countries. And that's why moments like this are really very important, where we have policymakers in the house, and I mean all willing and more than willing to push their governments to make sure that more investments made into foundational learning. And we really appreciate so much, especially on the side of Rwanda, our government, for the really great investment that the government is putting in to really ensure that foundational learning is improved at lower primary and primary levels. So itself is a promise. The fact that there's been a lot of investment in terms of teacher capacity building, even today, every weekend, teachers, licensed uncertified teachers attend training to make sure that their skills are improved. It's an indication that and the will that the government is really investing, and that's what we are doing as development partners to come in and complement. So the challenges are enormous, but yes, although the beautiful thing is that there's willingness and there's a positive will on the side of our government and on the side of all of us as development partners, because everybody is wanting and making sure that we have a teacher who is able to instruct the 21st century child in a manner that they are able to learn and that facilitates lifelong learning. So we have great hope as partners for the government that for sure if this momentum is really upheld, we're going to see greater results.
Foundational learning lays the groundwork for all future educational and personal achievements, providing children with essential skills in literacy and numeracy that unlock lifelong opportunities. By prioritizing early learning, societies empower individuals to make informed decisions, escape cycles of poverty, and contribute meaningfully to their communities. Enora Gladys, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Enora, for the details. Now to health matters. Medical experts urge parents of children with diabetes to avoid confusing the condition with witchcraft, as such misconception can worsen the disease. They emphasize that it is possible for a child to develop diabetes while still in the womb. Let's hear more on this story. Innocent Nirenganya, a resident of Gasabo district, is one of the parents whose child was born with diabetes. When his child was 3 years old, they took him to the doctor and was diagnosed with the condition. We didn't know what he was suffering from and would often think of various diseases, even witchcraft. He would eat but never feel satisfied, go to the toilet more often, and drink excessively. Despite this, we couldn't notice any weight gain. It wasn't until we took him to CHUK hospital that they confirmed he had diabetes. His child is now 6 years old and is in the first year of primary school. Niyonzima Sonia, who was diagnosed with diabetes at the age of 11, shares that she once believed the disease only affected adults. Doctors advised me on how to take care of myself and emphasized the importance of taking my medication regularly without skipping any doses as prescribed. At the schools where these children are enrolled, parents are required to notify the management to ensure their well-being. Clarisse, the head of Remera Academy, second, emphasizes that with the proper care and attention, these children can be able to thrive and continue their education successfully. These children, except when experiencing a crisis, they're just like any other children. They don't have any other problems. They are brilliant, perform well in class, and succeed and remain focused and optimistic during lessons. Muka Mazimaka Alvera, a nurse at the Rwandan Association for the Care of Diabetic Patients, explains that a mother can give birth to a child with diabetes due to various factors. We even have a new patient who was brought to us at 2 months old, and now they are at 4 months old. This shows that the disease can begin while the baby is still in the mother's womb, with the cells being gradually damaged. When the baby is born, it becomes apparent that they have a high sugar level because their pancreas is unable to produce insulin as needed. The Rwanda Biomedical Center reports that type 2 diabetes accounts for 95% of all diabetes cases in the country and is increasingly affecting young adults. Dr. Habineza Jean-Claude from RBC highlights common symptoms of type 2 diabetes, which include extreme thirst, frequent urination, unusual weight loss, extreme fatigue, and intense hunger. He emphasizes the importance of awareness and encourages individuals to seek medical treatment as soon as possible.
Hari n'ubushakashatsi buri kugenda bwerekana yuko nyine imirire mibi umuntu akiri umwana.
New research shows that poor nutrition during childhood can increase the likelihood of developing diabetes later in life. For example, if a child grows up malnourished and then starts eating properly, they may eventually develop diabetes. In the past, diabetes treatment required patients to visit hospitals, but now it can be managed at health centers and treated up to university hospitals. At any level, diabetes can now be effectively treated. According to RBC statistics for 2022, 2.9% of adults in Rwanda aged 18 and above are living with diabetes. At the time, 82% of those affected were unaware of their condition. On November 14, Rwanda will join the global community in celebrating International Diabetes Day. To more news, His Excellency Khalid Musa, the Chargé d'Affaires at the Sudanese Embassy in Rwanda, has revealed that Sudan's health service capacity has reduced up to 20% due to the ongoing war in this country. This was during a press conference to share updates on the current situation in Sudan.
So the total death in just 2 weeks ago, right now, more than 1,000. Right now, 300 hospitals has been destroyed. All our education facilities has been destroyed. All infrastructure has been destroyed. Our health capacity to provide health service right now reduced to 20% alone. People don't have any access to health services all over. The government doing its best just to redeem the basic services in the country. We have registered 500 cases of rape of minor girls, of women, without any protection. This rape is not just for personal interest, it is a policy that to change the demography, to give birth, as they call the Guardian, to an Arab new boys and girls to change the demographic map in Western Darfur and in Darfur. The international community has a responsibility to help Sudanese people to stop killing, war, and to bring peace and stability in the country. But unfortunately, this is my second point, some regional powers that are fueling this war for unknown reasons. I would like just to express my profound appreciation for the government of Rwanda, and especially to His Excellency President Paul Kagami, that for his welcoming policies and open doors for all Africans, and especially Sudanese. Second, also for the political understanding for our Sudan problem right now here. We have very good bilateral political relation between Sudan and Rwanda. This will be like a good basis to improve our relations. And with the community here, we have also more than 1,400 students that are studying here.
Welcome back now to matters on the international scale. U.S. President Joe Biden on Tuesday hosted Israel's president, while President-elect Donald Trump has separately held multiple phone calls recently with Israel's head of government, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. These parallel talks have focused on the conflicts in Gaza and Lebanon. VOA with the details.
The road to finding peace here goes straight through here. Washington is Israel's main supporter as it conducts operations in Gaza. On Tuesday, President Joe Biden welcomed Israeli President Isaac Herzog, ceremonial head of state, and reaffirmed his support.
You know, my commitment to Israel is ironclad, and we share a deep friendship. I want to thank you again for being here, and the floor is yours.
Herzog said,
"But first and foremost, we have to get the hostages back home."
I agree.
And it all starts in Tehran. It all starts in the Empire of Evil, where in Tehran, with its proxies, they are doing whatever they can to derail stability and security and peace, calling for the annihilation of the State of Israel and seeking nuclear weapons.
Herzog later said his conversations with Biden were open and frank. A day earlier, Herzog congratulated President-elect Donald Trump and called him a champion of peace and a great friend of Israel at a gathering of Jewish organizations in Washington. Trump has, in recent days, spoken repeatedly to Israel's top executive, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
We spoke of the urgent need to bring our hostages back home. President Trump reiterated his love for Israel. I thanked him for his friendship and wished him every success.
The U.S. State Department said Tuesday that Israel has made some progress in allowing more humanitarian aid into Gaza. And so, Washington will not act on its threat to limit arms transfers.
We've seen some progress being made. We would like to see some more changes happen. We believe that had it not been for U.S. intervention, these changes may not have ever taken place.
Aid agencies say the situation is dire. Raphael Cohen, a senior political scientist at the Rand Corporation who recently returned from the Israel-Gaza border, told VOA that he saw aid packages at the main crossing, and that it appeared that Israel had increased the amount of aid from what he called a trickle in October. The whole picture, he said, may change once Trump takes office.
Well, I think Trump has made it very clear that he wants this war wrapped up by the time he got into office. That's what he's the message that he supposedly communicated to Prime Minister Netanyahu. At the same time, President Trump, I think more so than President Biden, is a little bit more inclined to take an aggressive tack, specifically vis-a-vis Iran.
Time is also of the essence. Iran is the force behind both the Gaza-based Hamas militant group and Hezbollah. In recent months, Israel has struck deeper and deeper into Lebanon, raising fears of a broader regional war. Anita Powell, VOA News, Washington.
To more news, Ukrainian women are stepping up to volunteer in the military, courageously balancing the demands of frontline service with the responsibilities of civilian life. VOA once more.
The world of numbers and codes is Inna's daily job. She is a mathematics and computer science teacher in a school in the Kyiv region. But it's not her only job. Every 3 days, Inna volunteers in a local military unit. She puts on her uniform inside the car. Inna asks that we not use her last name.
There's simply no time to go home. Armor is issued in the military unit.
Inna joined the volunteer unit when school summer vacation started. She volunteered as a civilian when Russia invaded Ukraine, but always felt she could do more.
I saw an advertisement that women volunteers were needed. I was hesitant about age. I'm 51, but decided to try. I have 3 children and want to protect them.
Colonel Andriy Verlati came up with the idea to start a women's volunteer unit.
До 1 квітня цього року у мене
Until April 1st, my unit mainly consisted of men. But then the order to increase mobilization measures was issued, and my soldiers voluntarily joined different divisions of the armed forces.
Colonel Verlati explains only those who cannot serve in regular service may join the volunteer formation. Demobilized and retired military, those who don't meet the conscription age, and women.
На 1 вересня було 93 жінки. 93 жінки.
On September 1, from 120 of the total number of volunteers, 94 were women. Women do everything to be the best. They are more responsible and have a strong motivation.
Women patrol the city with the police and work as guards of honor. They all train to work in mobile air defense units too.
We are practicing now. The commander monitors the Russian drone on the tablet. We go to the point, mark drone coordinates, install machine guns, and meet the target.
All women are from the part of the Kyiv region that was occupied at the beginning of the war. In civilian life, Alina is an entrepreneur. Her colleague, with a call sign Lilo, is a barista.
I was in Bucha from the beginning of the occupation until March 11. My friends died under occupation.
Inna also recalls leaving the city with her children and says she doesn't want to feel that helpless again.
I can already hold a weapon, even with one hand. The physical form has become better. We mustn't let the Russians into the Kyiv region again. I don't want to use weapons, but I have to be ready.
Inna continues to combine both her military work and teaching. The school also lacks teachers. Her family was initially shocked by her decision. Now they say they are proud and look forward to her coming home after her daily shifts. Lesia Bakalets, VOA News, Kyiv.
And this brings us to the end of tonight's bulletin, but before we leave, a reminder of our top stories. Rwanda is set to generate $660 million of revenue from the tourism sector in 2024. Representatives of the civil society organizations are calling for a revision of the land use regulation law. On the international scale, US President Joe Biden on Tuesday hosted Israel's president, and these parallel talks have focused on the conflicts in Gaza and Lebanon. And this marks the end of tonight's bulletin. Thank you for tuning in to today's broadcast. On behalf of the technical and news production team, we wish you a productive week ahead.